Howdys and salutations, y'all. Sorry about the wait. Hey, perfect timing, Dado. Let's get this stinking garbage comment out of chat. Not yours. This whatever the spam message is. But yeah, good to see you. Sorry about the wait. Unfortunately, I had some work stuff that ran over long, so I had to get some stuff sorted out first. But I'm here now. Oh, and I'm sure you're smart enough to know this, but whatever that dogehype.com is obviously a virus website. Oh, yeah, I suppose it does. Over here, we just had daylight savings time, so our schedule actually, shifted an hour. So yeah, at least relative to y'all, we probably are earlier. Hey, that's fortunate. We're a tiny bit less out of sync. Well, I mean, it's still late, but it's less bad. Yeah. Yeah, we had to move our stinking clocks. We almost passed a bill where we didn't have to change it anymore, but apparently that was an accident. Anyway, oh yes, cool OC, yes. Absolutely down for that. Oh, where's that gonna open? Yeesh. I was thinking, don't dox me, Discord. I gotta figure out a better process for dealing with that. Yeah, absolutely. Man, I need to catch some more Pumpkinhead streams too. I've been so stinking out of it. Let's see. Ooh, a 2-for-1. That's nice. Dang. I like the horns with the helmet. It's a good combo. Wait, hold on, my music's really loud. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, I like that as a concept. Dang, these are really good too. You have a good eye for shadows and lighting highlights. I've never been very good at catching those. Dang. Gotta look at this one since we just sort of looked on it for a moment. Man. That's such a cool design. Yeah, well, if you're just getting used to it, I can tell you're, doing good stuff with it. I like the highlight on the back. I like the fog down here. Oh, they're so cool. Dang. OCs are stinking difficult too. References and all that are way harder to come by. Obviously, since it's all out of your own mind. But dang. Man, those look awesome, dude. Oh, I mean, yeah, front views are hard. I don't think I'm going to do it with the piece I'm currently working on. Orc, that makes more sense than order. But yeah, front views, stinking, oh, cheapers. Very hard. Yeah. Let's see. I guess picking up where we left off on this one, I think you saw the... What did I just click? That was the wrong button. That was the wrong button. Okay, and it's frozen. Cool, we're back. Nailed it. Okay, so I don't know if you saw the finished Malenia illustration. We can open recent. Probably, there we go. I think I was messing with some colors on it afterwards, so this wasn't actually like the final. Let me see if I can find, although it did turn out pretty cool. But it ended up looking like this, or optionally with the line work. Pretty happy overall with this one. Obviously, still room to improve on it, but like overall pretty good. However, building off of this one, the next one we're jumping to is one where we don't have a direct reference to build off of. So this one we had a screenshot of Malenia in this pose, so we at least, had something to go off of, and we're just basing it like that. Next time we're doing something even more challenging. Still not a front view face, though. I'm not messing with front view face. Yeah, I had a couple different background colors, but the black was pretty good. It works in this one too, but yeah, the high contrast on the helmet's nice. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, I was just messing with all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I'm learning how to make the best use of values and shadows and all that jazz. They're fun to mess with once you sort of learn a little bit more about them. Or at least as I've learned more about them. Been a good time. But next one is new challenge because we don't have a direct reference. In fact, we barely have any reference for this character in Elden Ring at all, so it's going to be a lot more... It's not full-on new character design, but we're going to have some open areas that we need to sort of figure out ourselves. So it should be fun. We'll be doing a like actual composition, which is what I've been working on last week, figuring out some poses and such. And I think today we're going to try to get started on actually getting this put together, at least the loose outline, and then we'll start doing... Yeah, one of these days I'll do a comic. These were just thumbnails, and I was all over the place trying to figure out different angles and stuff. I'll do a comic one day, but I need more consistent character shapes first. Someday, though. Oh, I've got my pen on the wrong setting. Let me fix that. The custom pen has been working out pretty well. So, yeah, the only reference we have for this character is stinking this image and then a statue in the game that is super low detail. So we're going to have to figure some stuff out. Let's see, I think... This one probably has the best lighting positioning, and this one has the best character positioning. We're going to see if we can't work on that a little bit. Right, let's think. If we want the table at this angle, because I do like, well... No, I think the more horizontal is better. Yeah. No, like, feel free to chill, lurk, whatever you want to do. It's good to see you, though. If we're rule of thirdsing this, just eyeballing it. Oops, I need to not do that on this layer. Let's get ourselves a fresh layer for this stuff. There's some loose composition stuff, and then we'll get into our rough sketch, and then we'll start doing the refinement, which is, I mean, probably where the bulk of the time is going to be. Bulk of the remaining time, anyway. What's it? Yeah, I've learned... My trick for avoiding it too much is that when I'm... Like, any layers I'm not actively working on, I try to lower the opacity, at least while I'm sketching and stuff. Because then I notice if my pen color looks wrong and too faint, I'm like, wait a second, something's off. And then I can catch it faster than otherwise. Because I absolutely would just like, oh, I just did the whole stinking arm on the wrong layer. Awesome. It's just sort of the way of these. I mean, I have a ruler. It's just a stinking weird number to try to divide. Like 36, no, I guess 37, that's 3780, then this is roughly 38. That's gonna be what? 75-ish, a little less, 260 really. But then 1260. Alright, well there's 1260. There's our actual roll of thirds. Amazing how much eyeballing thirds looks right until you actually double check your work and you're like, oh, I was very wrong. The next one will be what? 25-20? Oh, what do you know? Cool. Guess we can do this with the top two, just sort of get our bearings real quick. We're at what, 2160 on the nose? Dividing that by thirds is going to get us, let's see, 71421, 720. Guess that makes sense that there's a marker on it, and 1440. Cool. This is a narrower canvas than what I was messing with here, so I'll have to think about how we're doing this. Does mean that it's going to be easier to do a head on the rule of thirds point, possibly, although it may end up being too big, but that is what we want. It's supposed to be a character illustration after all. This is going to be a lot of going back and forth and me trying to figure out where everything goes. Not quite the pretty part of art, but, you know, gotta get done. How is that as angles go? Less steep than the other, reasonable. Reasonable. We can even... Oops, that's the whole layer. Don't want that. Am I on the signature layer again? Oh, dag-nabbit. I was talking about not doing it, and then I went and just literally did exactly the thing I said I was going to not do. Ah, well. Get these on the composition layer. Center of the head's going to be roughly there. May bias it slightly more towards the center. We'll see. You know what? Let's try to line the line up first. There we go. Always happy to have consistent line work. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Deep-a-dup-a-dee. No, I'm sure I would have done it anyway. Okay, let's get the signature layer cleaned up. I realized I didn't put a watermark or anything on my other one, and I've done a thinking time lapse of the drawing of it. But I want to be careful before I post that. I need to figure out how to watermark it just in case. I'm sure it'd be fine, but you know, never hurts. Gotta get your name on these things. Okay, let's see. That's our table. And we have... Oh, jeepers, that ain't even close. There we go, that's better. Roughly an edge there. And let's just try to block in where shapes are going to land. Okay, let me think about perspective-wise. We're here. Laying down on this and gripping. How does the arm appear? Unless the edge is pretty far away, it'd actually be... Okay, maybe we'll get a little elbow in there. Actually help us point to a single position too. That might not be bad. Okay. Feels like we'd be able to see all of us though. Yeah. Okay, maybe we need to zoomed out a little more. Big hand. Fortunately, that ain't gonna look good. Could be the other hand reaching over, in which case we'd have an angle more like this. Have too much room in the bottom now? Potentially. How do we want to do this? Oops. Okay. This is the part where I get the joy of taking these rough, sketchy things and trying to actually make them make sense in like proportion and such. Is this on the signature layer too? Did I do the same thing again? Oh, dagnabbit. I'm locking that layer. I'm making it uneditable. Nothing else is going on this layer, so help me. Locked. No messing with it anymore. Let's try getting Miquella in first, and then we'll figure out hand orientation based on that. Okay, Miquella. We want a mostly central figure. And at waist being at table height. Not sure about this pose yet. Need to think about the hands a little more. Then I want a 3/4 view. Well, I don't want the face looking directly at us. Be even like slightly off quarter. Just not directly at. It was more stiff. Oh, really? Dang, that's coming up. I mean, we're already like halfway through this month. Oh, shoulder back a little bit, methinks. Well, congratulations, you've just about survived another year. I'd say that's an accomplishment these days. Nah, but really, that's exciting. Yeah, that's how it always goes. But, I don't know. As long as you're spending days in ways that make you happy, or, you know, ways that at least allow you to make sure that you can eat the next day, then, yeah, that's a win. Yeah. But yeah, the last couple of years have absolutely just zipped right on by. Of course, all the pandemic stuff sure as heck didn't help that. Been a chaotic couple years. Yeah, it's a little bit of a drag. Bad grab. That's right. Yeah, figuring out what to ask for also gets harder as you get older. I've had years where I'm genuinely tempted to say socks. But then there's always something that's, you know, not socks that would be infinitely less bad. But I guess the other secret of adulthood is, like, it's not like it comes just overnight. Like, all that stuff is piecemeal. So you just end up like a little, well, I suppose unless there's like a crisis or something, but generally speaking, it's just like a little more responsibility, a little more reasonable enough levels. Oh yeah, picture frames are actually a good one. see. Yeah. But yeah, no, manga is always good. Granted, I don't have a lot. Well, before I got into any of the anime things, I've been following webcomics for 10 plus years now, a long time. And so it's always exciting to get like a hard copy of one that I've read online for ages. Oh, maybe that's part of that. It is too far up. Not as too far up as it looks, but still slightly too far up. This gets it more in rule of thirds. Oh, dang. You've got quite the collection. Careful, the thing you're going to have to ask for is a bookshelf. I'm wary of things that I have to collect these days. I went all in on Pokemon way back in the day. And now I've got a lot of Pokemon cards and no one to play it with. So, I have to be careful. Let's see. How do we want the light in this one? It's always thinking harder when the light source is in the scene. I can't just fudge it. Too timid. Add positioning. You can never have too many bookshelves. Well, I mean, eventually, but bookshelves are always good. Suppose needs a little work. It looks too eager for stabbing. Is that any solemn pose would be centered, which would be difficult with this particular weapon. Actual window and frame would be difficult. We could just have external light source. Just don't want it to be overly binding for this. Guess I've still got a little composition to figure out after all. Never ends. If Miquella is more over here, and like even more obscured then. Means we could put the actual L more in a central position. Want Miquella mostly backlit. However, also I maybe need to let go of the light framing idea so much. There's other ways we can do framing. Because the windowsill is just such a harsh edge. So we move it really low. Of course, we'd have to illustrate more background that way, but that's not the end of the world. Whoops. If it's like down here. Taking a lot of artistic liberties with the actual layout of this room. That's okay. Think about where that would land. Let's sort of think about some of the other structures back there. This becomes heck, that could even be an over the head raise. Be more like this. Be interesting framing, no question. Match the pose, though. To make sure the arms are a reasonable length. Because there's not much in the way of a grip on it, so that's fine. Yeah, I always, on the note of bookshelves, I definitely always run out of space on those. I went and got like a giant IKEA shelf, and now it's full too. Let's see. Smaller sun. Have some sort of radiance out from it, even though it itself would be in eclipse mode. Yeah, I mean, the IKEA ones are great. They're reasonably affordable. They're pretty darn sturdy these days. And they're so customizable. You can just fit them to whatever you need. I've had great luck with that stuff. Granted, I'm admittedly a sucker for a good deal. Like, I got all my utensils at IKEA, too. They've been good. The knives are too sharp. Like, they can cut through a water bottle, but everything else is reasonable. In terms of utensils, well, actually, I don't know the names of stinking any of them, because they're all not actual Swedish. They just sound Swedish. But I got the big 5x5 shelf where each nook is 12 or 13 inches, I guess. I don't know, about 30 centimeters. And you get like 5 by. I used it since during a lot of stuff. I work and sleep in the same room, so I use it as a room divider. So I sort of get two spaces that are a little more separate. Helps with sanity when you spend so much time in one place. But I know they've got those nice stair-steppy ones too. Not as good for space efficiency, but great for displaying things. But yeah, no, my shelf is taller than I am. And the same width, it's a big old square. Yeah, oh man, I've had this one a couple of years now. I don't know, all their stuff is good, but their big stuff is big. Because their shelf options go all the way from little tiny cute decorative thing to actual practical shelf up to like, do you need an extra wall in your room? They got a lot of size options. This pose is going to do crazy stuff to the hair. That's actually probably fun though. Yeah, their stuff's massive. Really good though. That said, I'm not sure I could ever actually move this shelf out of the room. I built it in here because like IKEA is always some assembly required, and I don't think it's gonna leave. I love the most tempting stuff ever on IKEA is like they have those pre-designed rooms where it's just like, hey, here's like a small square footage apartment that makes good use of the space, and here's everything you could need for it. And I'm like, oh, that would be nice. Just a fresh start. But not the most practical to actually do. Yeah, the actual like places are really they're crazy, but they're fun. It's like being in a giant maze. To the point that I think someone made a Roblox game that was just being lost in IKEA, and you can build like furniture forts and such. They're fun stores. Should have it where this encompasses it. I forgot about that. If instead of this, we come at it from like this angle. Yeah, no, it was a better trend than the everyone's just buying way too much toilet paper and now there's none left. Toilet paper forts were much better. I feel like a much more dangerous version of that. Do y'all have those stores where they like stack up the big ol' like just like boxes of soda cans and they like stack them up in different patterns and such for displays and holidays? Because we got a few stores here that do that, and it feels like you could make a great fort out of that, but if it collapsed, you would actually just be buried in soda. Oh, yeah, that's probably smart. They don't seem wise here because it's a whole bunch of like cases of soda that you can't actually sell because they're part of the display. There's one around here called Tom Thumb that does it. Wait, Battle Nun would be fun. the class be monk? I mean, it'd be sort of the equivalent of nun for battle. Made a character one time. It wasn't on D&D Beyond. It was just random with some homebrew stuff and a crew. Where I was trying to play a necromancer who just thought they were a really good cleric. Like, everyone else would have these cases where they couldn't heal them, and the necromancer could always magically bring them back. But, turns out that it wasn't last-second healing. They just were reviving the dead. It never saw any play in a campaign, because as fun as a gimmick as that is, it's not actually at all useful or playable, or, like, doesn't fit in any situation other than the one joke. But oh, Aasimar Paladin, also a good choice. I always forget about paladins. For the D&D campaign I run, one of our players has now gotten polymorph and is absolutely using that to ridiculous ends. I mean, I can't complain. That's what polymorph is for. And frequently the stuff they polymorph into is genuinely unhelpful to the party. Okay, polymorph lets you turn into an animal. The higher level you are, the more dangerous creature it is, until you can get into some properly dangerous stuff. So far they've turned into a pterodactyl that was infinitely slower than the actual like animals they had been riding. So that turned out to not be helpful. The latest one has been useful, is they turned another party character into a manticore. I mean, it's kind of like druid stuff. It's a lot like druid stuff, but it's technically a wizard spell. Because you can polymorph other things too. There's time restraints and a whole bunch of, like, it's not going to be as powerful as a druid. But at least I don't think it is. That would sort of undercut druids. Anyway, it's a player that I trust to not abuse the ability, so I don't mind it, but, like, it's going to cause them problems at some point. I just made a warlock who has a particularly useless contract with their patron. Namely that unless they pay a fee every so often, they can't do damage at all, like even with a sword. It's a very bad curse. There are no upsides. It's just problem. Okay, let's... Yeah! Trying to figure out on this composition. Guess this would let us have the hand up like that. Yeah, honestly, there's so much fun in just making the characters that sometimes you don't even need a group. but yeah, it is fun. Still not sold on this one. Man, this composition stuff is complicated. Not really surprised, but still. Actually, sorry, I have to be back in just like 1 minute. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. Sorry about the wait. Back now. Okay, let's see. That kind of works. Miquella there. The window becomes a framing piece. Would allow some good light beams. Let's try that. Let's see. Nope, still. Come on, a little more down. There we go. Good enough. Mainly because I can cheat. There we go. Okay. Want this kind of off the axis, but let's try going for this same one. I suppose it's the roughly halfway point of the stream, so as per tradition, I should just double check. Like, if you need to head out and sleep, don't feel bad about it. I know it's getting pretty late where you're at. Of course, you're more than welcome to stick around too, if you so like. Okay. We have a really low horizon line, so even this should... Fair enough. Oh, have you ever gotten into like the older anime? I was just perusing around randomly today because I was sort of between shows, and I ran across like the original Mobile Suit Gundam from the 70s. Surprisingly intense. I was not quite ready for how they were going to kick that one off. I don't want this on roll of thirds. Ugh. Put it there though, which is kind of too high. It's not that too high. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a ton, and apparently there's remakes and all sorts of stuff. I stumbled upon the actual like original one, and like it's dated. Don't get me wrong, like it shows its age, but it's been pretty good. I found it entertaining at least. Let's see. I mean, I'm only 3 episodes in. So I can't judge it that much. Oh, I imagine that looks amazing. Yeah. Yeah, no, the old 70s anime definitely not as nice looking. Yeah, there's some really nice stuff out there. It's just how much you're willing to shell out for it, which I'm usually not willing to shell out enough. You know what? Let's go with higher windowsill. Not great for composition. It's gonna have to do for our purposes. Yeah. The only like fancy version of a normal thing I've got is an old like a really nice version of Le Morte d'Arthur, which is an old Arthurian tale that I did a lot of stuff with in college. So some folks gave me a like nice illustrated version. It's real fun. I'm sure there's a manga of like the old King Arthur tales. I mean, they've got manga Bible and like manga Shakespeare. I'm sure they've got old King Arthur manga. I have to do everything I can to mitigate the harshness of this line. And I do. Oh dang, yeah, 24 pounds though. That's not gonna be great in dollars. um, the conversion rate's not that different. It might be like 26 or something. 27. But yeah, dang. Good for one, bad for the whole collection. I mean, we could go for really aggressive framing. Actually have it be somewhat centered. Make it more of an action pose. Okay, maybe that's what we do. Full on center Miquella up. Like here. Still with this slight backwards tilt. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, stuff like that. I don't get a lot of stuff for display, but there's every once in a while there's something that's worth it. And I'm like, yep, I want to make sure that that's like a key thing. Or just to have. Like that's how I feel with when I've got my web comics. Like, yeah, I can read them on the web all the time, but having like a nice print hard copy version where it's all cleaned up for like publishing, it's really nice. I'll think about arm positioning more. Not quite head-on view. Also, I'm looking down. It's to make bigger, more innocent-looking eyes, which is certainly something. And also more potential shadow over the eyes. Outline in there, which I'm just roughing all this stuff in, jeepers. Alternatively, looking up slightly. A little head tilt. Could really just lean all in on the symbolism, make this look like closer to a tarot card than anything. Be a pretty bold composition, I'll admit. And I think it mostly, like, I actually do like that as a background. I'm going to make that like I think I'm gonna settle on that as the background composition. and flesh it out a little bit more. I even like use the line tool just to really solidify some of this. Also, as much as I like these borders, I don't want them to be the main defining piece, so we'll be fairly simple with them. That's still line tool. Arrow's not really my thing, but there's no denying that it's a cool, like, got good, bold style, so, like, that sort of framing. And we can still make this not super, like, it won't actually look like a border on a card or anything. Figure out arm placement. Shouldn't have arm placement on the background composition layer, though. Okay, so now that's that. If we really want to make it dramatic, we could go a little exaggerated on the scale of the eclipsed sun. Actual like bottom of the window considerably lower. We'll get some perspective in there too. We're gonna have pretty harsh. That our horizon line is here. Then pretty steep on the flat on that one. Okay. Wouldn't be me if I wasn't overthinking every single step of the process. That's just how we roll. I'll leave that marked for that. Yeah, I mean, I'm confident it's going to go well. It's going to take so much time. These things always take so much time. Or at least I'm slow and methodical, which, to be fair, is also true. You know what? I don't even necessarily need the top to be containing this. If we want to go for a more Gothic-looking arch, then we'd want something more like this. I could just copy it over, but let's just get like a rough. Again, this is just composition. We're not even in final sketches or medium sketches or intermediate. Okay. If we're going for a Gothic one, maybe that changes how we want the eclipse. Nah, I don't think it does. Okay, now looking at this one, the last thing that I'm really trying to work out is going to be sticking Miquella's pose. I'm not happy with that pose. This pose is more active, but looks awkward as all get out. So let's try a fresh go. Well, this is why we do this now. I'm happy to spend plenty of time on this phase because it's way easier to change things when I'm just a couple lines in and I'm figuring out placement. That gets much nastier when you're like far into the details and you're like, wait, crud. Thinking about the other ones. Position for Miquella. Waist at about the table height. I want roughly centered. Well, centered, yes, but also facing the table. So 3/4 view, even if centered. Miquella's not large, and yet would still be intimidating in this particular situation. Assuming that I do this right. Actually, if we try the tilt differently, we have straight there, and we have more tilt on this side. Might be a little better. No, not exactly. Need back tilt for that too, and I don't... Nope. Don't think that's quite what we'd want. Back to this one. Back to this one. Almost completely vertical, very slight slant. And actually, we can bias it so that the slant is more like Miquella is moving forward. And so this is actually going to be vertical here and more slanted away there. Well, down here, it wouldn't be much. Real question is, how should they be holding the sickle? Sort of an implied, just kind of in the background, with the ominous eclipse going on somewhere back there, most likely. Either we could have the eclipse centered behind Miquella, be very dramatic, very posed, which is okay. We could go for eclipse being somewhere up here as a sort of contrast, but we're going to end up like competing with the size of Miquella's head, unless we really do just make it like a smaller, like in the distance thing. All comes down to this pose. Figuring out where the hand should go comes down to this pose. Figuring out where the sun should go comes down to this pose. So what should the pose be? And simplifying some of the examples we've got on this one, we got kind of like a hesitant moving forward. And just like holding it. I don't think that one's great, truthfully. We've got what I think was supposed to be like a crouching forward thing, which is certainly intimidating. Although once again, this arm pose is just very static. Better if we've got like facing down like this. That's if we want to go the hyper-intimidating route, which is certainly one option. There's this one. Is sort of what we've been kind of building off of right now. Although once again, as much as someone holding this type of weapon and looking cutesy with it is horribly intimidating, it's also not necessarily the vibe. Does fit well with the flow of the hair, though. Looking at some others, we've got, and that one's just a static pose. That's no. Building off of, once again, the kind of cutesier pose, although that's leaning into it way too much. Let's keep this reasonable. Do it up here where we got a flat ground. Like this. Less curve at the bottom. Angle. In and out. Sort of holding it behind the back, which would not have the elbow bent like that. Holy cow, no wonder that looks wrong. Yeah. More like this. This perspective. Yeah, have a good one, Dado. Yeah, no, at this point, this will look awesome once we get it worked out, but it's a little bit of a dry stage. Thanks for sticking around, though. It was great to chat with you. Hope you have a nice, I guess, morning at this point where you are, but hope you get some sleep. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing the fan art, too. That was awesome. Thanks. Casually holding behind, intimidating as well. Not really well obscured, though. Kind of like just gonna have to keep tweaking this. Nothing wrong with having like a little bit of the robes here. We've at least got that for the arm, and I think that's reasonable depending on Miquella's pose. Let's see, 9:15. I'm going to take another quick pause. Apologies for this, I got to use the restroom real bad. I'm going to try to think about poses real quick, and when we get back, hopefully I'll have another thing to keep working on. See y'all in just a couple minutes. Howdys and salutations again, y'all. Thanks for your patience. We are going to be jumping back in here. But before we jump too far further, we need to do some pose practice. Now, I'm going to put all that away for now. I'll be honest, the thing that's been probably the issue here, or at least one of the issues, is that I've not been able to make up my mind about one rather important part of this particular drawing. Do I want Miquella to look intimidating and stern and dangerous, or do I want Miquella to look friendly and like innocent, the sort of way that Miquella is described in most things? But ultimately, and I've been trying to do like a hybrid, like some stinking. I mean, there's plenty of that stuff out there. We've got cutesy character who's dangerous or what have you. However, truthfully, I don't think that that's working with this setup. I mean, I'm trying to depict an actual moment from the game. So, with that in mind, I'm going to have to pick one of the stinking two. And I think I've made up my mind. And I think that I have made up my mind specifically that I am going to be aiming for the ominous tone, because that's what we've been doing up to this point with the rest of this like entire composition drawing, whatever you want to call it. But like it's just that's where we're at. I think I need to make the decision. I think that's the decision that needs to be made. So rather than splitting where I've been trying to do my focus and trying to find poses that split the difference, I don't want, for the record, I also don't want creepy like Gollum looking Miquella. I just want someone who looks like they're making a serious decision that actually matters. Like, this is something that is important, this is something that they brace themselves for, but they're not going to shy away from doing it. And so I think defiant isn't the right word, but it's where I'm going to start. Let's do some actual pose practice. We're going to get a line of action here. We're going to... I don't think that's the line of action I want. I want a stern, slightly forward character. Like, pretty mild. Or even... Oh, dagnabbit. Trying to picture this one in my head, because I don't have a great reference directly for it. I don't think I can get the line of action for it well, so let's instead try to get something more like this. Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Not as dreadful as it could have been, but not good. Too static. Way too static. Blech. Okay. This is why we need the line of action. Let's try it with a line of action like this. Ay ay ay. This is basically that same pose, but in a bolder perspective. It's certainly imposing and confident, which is what I want, but it's still not quite what we're looking for here. You know what? Let's see. Every Dark Souls boss has like distinctive like sitting poses that all nail this. Let me see if I can't find just images of some of them in their poses, because they've all got that confidence that we're looking for. Let's see what we got on here. Like singing Dancer. Dancer's a great pose because it looks simultaneously gangly but also poised. Like this it's clearly dangerous and it's clearly ready to stab, but it still has the hunched over crouching. Like it actually reminds me a bit of the Black Knife Assassins, or vice versa. Obviously these guys, although that's actually right before an actual attack, that's not just their default. That's a good one, of course. Gundir's got a lot of good poses. This is a mid-strike pose. It's not necessarily the one I'd want. This, honestly, not the best pose. Good enemy, I hear, but like kind of a weak pose. Anyway, this one, fairly generic, but not bad, actually. And it's got that sort of leaning into... Okay. Leaning into it like that. Maybe that's what we need to be doing here. Leaning more towards confident arm straight down, weapon out to the side. I mean, Artorias, there's lots of good options, but that sort of subtle one is what I'm kind of looking for. There's one I want to look at, though. The Eudex. Because dude's got confidence, and is also very ready to murder. But like this, like, here we go. This is actually very similar to that same Nameless King pose. Slightly less strong because it's got less of the tilt. A lot of good art of this, of course. A pose, we could always A pose. Not exactly what we need, though. Oh, there we go, figurine. That's actually a really good action figure for Etsy. Well done, whoever did that. Similarly dynamic pose. Again, we're not dealing with the lower half, so we've got to be careful. We still need to account for it in terms of the angle of the body, but we do have to be careful. If that's the most important part in displaying what the pose is, it's not going to work well. I mean, that's certainly dramatic. Let's see. Looking Glass Knight pose. I've not fought this one. Oh, well, that's certainly something. Nah, he's just ready. But not a super strong pose on that one. That one's better. The Skyrim Special Edition one. Okay. Anyway. I think we've looked at some decent references here. I like what they're doing with this. Cool style, much like... Okay. Let's try... Keeping in mind that Nameless King pose. I don't know if we know if Miquella is right-handed or left-handed. I don't know that it matters that much for this composition, truthfully. Okay. So we basically want level shoulders, slightly unlevel hip. I think I should have actually saved that pose. Ah, okay, I see what I'm doing wrong here. Thinking in 2D. Once again, we were kind of on the right track with this. It doesn't need to be as 3D as all that. We're at a different angle. We don't need to be full view of the side. That's the direction I want the legs to go, but that's not the right pose for them. Let's pull up stinking Nameless King again. It's a good pose. It's a really good pose. And it's one where we can't even see the legs, and yet the pose still works. Okay. Shoulders, hard to tell with the scarf, but they are tilted like this, contrast to a fairly stable hip. Okay. Very cute art. Very cute art with that one. Anyway, I get a moderator role. Anyway, shoulder. This dude's got pauldrons for days. I never really noticed how big. Like, yeah, we got the scarf, but the heckin' pauldrons too, dude. That's got to be hard to move in. Okay, I'm gonna keep this one open in my other window, and I'm going to try to, from looking at it, get this pose. Dang, poses. Poses be hard. It's a very subtle C curve, is what it is, which is good. That's more dynamic than a straight line. We are actually seeing quite a lot of the side here. Wouldn't see above anyway. But that ought to actually tilt away. Still slightly above us, so that's going to be like that. And this leg, this will come out slightly and down. And this leg is the one with the slightly bent knee. Arm is actually out a fair ways. And it should be there. I made that arm a little bit too long. That arm looked like it belonged to Yarnum or Ulasil. Lots of weird similarities between those two, which makes sense when you think about when they were being developed. Implied weapon. It's a good pose. Like the looming. Okay, there's one more. This may be the rest of the stream is just trying to sort out poses, but so help me, if we can get the pose for everything done today, then that means tomorrow we can actually do detail line work and start doing things, which would be nice. I realize this is new content and thus slower content in terms of both my learning and just doing things. So yeah, apologies, but this is going to take some doing still. But I have to, it's hard for me to not rush it. Okay, let's see, it was. Okay, wait, no. Do. Less draws. Less draws has really good poses. That's not the one I was looking for. Oh, I've got no idea who the artist on this one is. Okay, then I can't, in all honesty, share it on screen, and it's probably not going to be the final pose we use. It's very similar to this one, but I think the shoulder is more visible, and thus will be better, because this looks kind of hunchy, and this kind of C-curves the other direction and looks more confident. Wish I knew which art piece this was from. I hate to, like, borrow even the posing from it, because it's really stinking good. I don't think lore-wise it makes any stinking sense, but it's very cool. It's Ornstein with the Dragon Slayer armors, both of them. Outside Londor, not Londor. Yes, Londor? Lothric Castle. Great lighting. Oh man, it's such a good one. And then you've got one leg that's technically still angled out, because this whole side is essentially an angle there. But then the other leg is, and this whole side is in major defiance. I mean, Ornstein's got crazy armor, so you know, armor. But got like arm there, confident arm there. Pole arms are the best for this kind of pose, and obviously I'm biased towards pole arms because all three references I've used use pole arms. Got Ornstein and Nameless King and Gundyr. Maybe I should think about a pose that actually works with a knife or a shotel. And this one, of course, Ornstein's looking up into the distance dramatically. That that did not work when I tried to erase. Interesting. Probably because I pressed the wrong button. doing scribblios on this. Ay, ay, ay. Not actual scribble.io, but you know, scribblios. Okay. The issue here is mostly that I made the torso too short, and so this looks too wide by comparison. But yeah, no, it's still a tilt like that. Then head even taller. Ornstein is a cool character. I like Ornstein. That's not necessarily what we want either. Man, I've got to practice my gesture drawings, is what I'm learning from this. Holy cow. Let's see. I mean, there's always the classic, like, knight with long sword thing. Very stoic. Very front-facing face, which is not what we want. And very looks like you're dead in a coffin, which is also not what we want. Too static in any case. I don't know if we want the moment of action. Doesn't really matter. We'll do more of these if we need. Could have a pretty solid lean back if they're either about to swing or recovering from the swing. I don't think I want the gruesomeness of recovering from the swing, to be fair. Hold on. Let me bias that in a slightly different direction. This is probably too much. This is definitely too much, but that's okay. Our perspective here, at least a little bit. Okay, and anyway, definitely not it. We could go ominously blacksmith-like, which would be in line with a certain parent. That would probably have them hunched over like this. One very distinctive counterline. To actually be able to see that. braced against the actual table, or you even. Don't like this. I mean, it's ominous, but it's almost too intimidating. Maybe we want a slightly more stoic pose. Stoic, of course, not being necessarily the same as static. If we are going to go for stoic, slight tilt, mainly stable at the top. Tilt coming in here. So I don't know what's happening with the side there. Let's turn that down a notch. Actually, I'd probably need that to tilt the other way. I don't want it to look like it's bent in. It really just would need to be. None of that would be visible, but it's still important. I want the arm in front of that, actually. You're nervously holding it be one way. If you're stoically holding it, that's still like the knight holding it. I don't think that'd work for Miquella. What's the actual stance with this? I mean, we could go for actual in-motion arms overhead. Try to think about what that would do to a pose. Let's think about. Torso's still falling. Oh, I forgot the TV on so loud. I thought something exploded. Or rather, I thought that was thunder. I think it is a movie explosion. But the elbow is bent the wrong way. Ah. A pretty good one for the actual eclipse, too. Be good for the hair. I don't know why these poses are so difficult. Let me check one more thing. Just digging through all my art references for poses and such. Okay, come on. How am I forgetting the name of this one? Think about it all the stinking time. Not all the stinking time, but it's useful. A Dorcas stock. Let me just see. I want to check their rules for using the poses before I do anything. Let's see. Creative Commons license. Okay. If the stock is used solely for pose reference, then the attribution is appreciated but not required. Okay. I'm not opposed to attributing it, no question, but I'd like, I like to know what's required there. See, viewing the archive. Oh, right, it's on DeviantArt. Small bladed weapons poses. Man, a Dorcas stock really does have stinking everything. Although most of these look like rogues and jumping action, but that's still quite handy. Now we're gonna get a nice Shotel pose anyway, but we can try to find something that will work here. It's an interesting weapon. I don't know enough about how it's actually used to pose it well, which is part of the problem. Thinking about some of these Adorka stock ones. Let's try. Weapon here. Kind of a bizarre pose. I've ended up making it too crouchy. There we go, that's better. Although less dynamic, admittedly. I mean, a pose that I might be able to manage without needing to draw the face, which would kind of defeat the purpose of what we're trying to actually learn with this drawing, is like, let's see, hand up, this raised, head stinking down. More of a desperate pose of not wanting to stab. Okay. Learn more about how people wield a Shotel. Is it properly a Shotel? Guess so. Dang it, a bunch of anime refs, while they might be exciting, are not useful for actual motions in most cases. I can't rely on them, at least. There's some has-been hotel thing about Shotels. it get shortened to that? Because there's a lot of references for that showing up. Oh, the joy of needing references. Not references on how to model it in Maya. No, this is just an image of the one from Elden Ring. We've gone full circle. Ah. That looks like it's a fishing tool. Cool. The internet's a big place and frequently unhelpful. Gonna look for a few more poses. That's what we're gonna be doing today, and we will presumably go from there. Dang it. I mean, this is even one that's... This one's even close to those other two ones we looked at, but it still looks kind of... Maybe I'm being overly picky about this, but I want to be picky about the pose. Darn it. Pose is important. Actually, this one's pretty good. Not exactly stoic, but I don't know that you can get a stoic action pose. Yeah. Get a similar thing. So hard to get face poses where I don't accidentally make it more 2D than it ought to be. Especially when I'm doing these super rough faces like this. Building off of this again. Part of it sticking out on that side. This would be if we wanted friendly looking. Although, even then, I think there's something to be said for trying to look intimidating. Problem is, it's also a difficult weapon to do this with without it obscuring the face. Because, like, you know, if you had a knife and you wanted to look stoic, you could simply have, you know, knife. But with this, it's so big, it's like, oh, that could actually be an interesting dynamic if we did it right. I don't think that's doing it right, but if we did... Or even something properly intimidating. Directly covering the eyes. Of course, that would not be directly covering the eyes. That would be covering the eyes. Have, like, shadow in there. You could still have a ominous smile. Well, I think we've reached one conclusion here. It's that we keep coming back to this sort of dramatic standing pose. I'm going to try, at the very least, I know we're a little over time, but we also had long pauses and started late, so we can go a little over time. Let's try, now that we've looked at a few references, let me try without a ref, but building off of what we've seen. Because that's really, what we need to do here. So first off, I need a more dramatic perspective angle for this. At least I want to try a more dramatic perspective angle for this. I'm going to hit the edge of the page. That's okay. It's less okay. Let's move this. And a lot of lag on that feature now. Not sure what changed. Maybe it's just that I've got much higher pixel density on this, and so it's literally dealing with like 4 times as much stuff to move. Although it has to move the vectors too, so. Like hip still needs to be really dramatically angled here. Which actually I think means that this needs to come in more. So we still need to give it a bit of taper. Even that was above us. It would probably be wrong for this pose, but that's okay. Alright, okay, like this, and then like that. Those need to be on the same ground plane if I want them to look believable. Okay. It's funny, having it like this, but with the straight arm on this side, suddenly feels like more dainty and whimsical. Having the straight arm directed out on this side, however, immediately looks more dramatic and bold. I guess it's that contrast. Amazing what a little bit can do like that. Could also try something like this from more of a side view than it is currently. This one will be less dramatic with the actual like perspective, and we'll say that we're at about waist height. Less contrast between the legs like this, even if it is slanted out. Not going to look quite as far slanted out. This will still be pushed back some distance. This would presumably be even further forward. We would be at a pretty side angle if you think about it, although we can look at this. still plausible for Miquella to walk up and not be quite so side view. Okay, let's go forward with one sort of like this. Like these. I am not sold with having it cover the eyes. Mainly because I want to get it on that fun face lighting, and we've missed out on eyes with one illustration already, so I don't know that we should do that twice. Okay, looking at composition Miquella. It's got a good person arm in it, but I'm going to get rid of the actual Miquella in here. It ain't what we need. I always regret it when I try to erase this way, but tempting. Ah, that one actually didn't go too bad. Specifically with that scribble back and forth motion. I never regret vector erases. And they're stinking wonderful. Okay. Composition. POV. Got rough 1, definitely wrong. Rough 2. Don't hate it. I don't hate rough 2. We should try rough 2 with the more confident pose too. We'll build on that. Composition POV, we're dropping to more shadowy. Composition Miquella. And I'm honestly mixing up the word composition and like posing and stuff at this point. It's not exactly composition. Although figuring out where the heck the sun's going to go probably is. Okay, composition Miquella. Keeping in mind we want waist at about table height. And Miquella himself about here, mayhaps? Unfortunately, it's going to put us at a pretty static angle compared to that hip. The harsh perspective on this altar that we're on is not meshing super well with the background. Something that can be remedied. A very slight tilt to the background. Which way? Up. It would have to be up. I know I'm getting distracted. I just want to sort of loosely pencil this in. And try tossing some of these lines. See if that feels less jarring. Of course, this side would also need to end up being a bit higher. The whole wall just feels too close. Probably because the window is so big. We can work on that, but it's not as big a priority. Let's focus on Miquella still. Getting back on our dramatic poses. And our doubly dramatic poses. My Miquella is still not a large character, even if this particular situation should still have them be imposing. So I'm going to have to be clever with how we do that. Now it comes down to the arm poses. Honestly, even having it like this is not bad. Or more directly angled relative to the ground as opposed to relative to Miquella. You can, of course, always have the across the face option. And then this would also give us plenty of space to have a counterpoint, like eclipse of some sort up here. a very bold one. Give us some good contrast and help angle stuff towards Miquella, because Miquella's, as much as we want this to be a dramatic and somewhat imposing moment, it's also not one of Miquella's better moments or more successful moments, if we're being honest. Something slightly below that rule of thirds line, though, definitely does minimize the impact. Still, that's considerably better than most of the previous attempts. Let's, one option, of course, is enlargenify Miquella. Whoops. I feel like we're actually getting pretty close to something here. Wow, okay. Holy cow. This tool has stopped working on this illustration. And on a few others. Okay, nope, we're here. Oh, it's not looking so hot. If I click OK, what's it gonna do? Okay, nope, it got it. We can still have slightly more imposing Miquella. Oh, the face is gonna be a doozy, ain't it? That's okay. I like composition Miquella, and then thinking I'm gonna make another folder inside here that's got these in it. The composition prep. We'll chuck the pose practice in there too. Why not? Just gotta keep this organized. And the window doesn't look so bad now that Miquella is blocking the lower half of it anyway, so for all we know, it's just a giant opening. Get rid of these bad lines anyway, because they weren't doing good regardless. They're muddling things, so we can clean them out a bit. Please tell me I put that sun on the background. Nope, it's on Miquella's layer. Yep. Let's clear these out now that they're on the right place. Got the arm on the wrong layer too. Whatever. Nope, it's on the right layer. Yay. Okay. What even is this layer? I don't know. Oh, right. Miquella alt. There's option one. And Miquella alt. Not composition. Whatever the heck that is. I guess that's where, like, the police officer is, maybe? I don't know. Okay. This is Miquella alt. I'm going to go for a very similar pose, but with the overhead inspiration. And a little more centered. Oh, that's why my arcs are always so bad when I'm trying to do these faces. I do this. This should really only be on the face part, not all of it. It's still not great, but it at least reads better. Oh, anyway, that's much too small of a head. The show tell barely even appearing on this one. I'm sure a little bit of rearrangement could make that work better, but there you go. We can make this. There we go. Okay. And there's two. I'm kind of liking. I'm gonna duplicate this layer real quick. Miquella Alt 2. I think I'm gonna throw this one toward the bottom. I don't think it's what we want. In fact, I may even dunk it in here. Let's see. We're real close to getting this sorted out, methinks. This one, though, we put the old one away. We're gonna trust the lasso tool. Hide everything else just to make sure the lasso tool isn't getting anything it ought not to. It's gonna struggle with this one. There's a lot to move. Just same deal, but centered. Good work, lasso tool. Did it. We've got Miquella down here at the side, or Miquella a little more in the middle. I think that's one that we'll have to sleep on, but we'll be choosing between those two, and that's going to be stinking it. May not be able to get Miquella's ghost fellows in the background on this one. That's okay. Or, you know, we can always find ways to sneak them in. I kind of like, as long as we keep that framing not too overly bold, or if we break it up by having the fellows sort of like obscuring part of it. And we could sneak in Nile back here if we want. Or was it Niall, or whichever. Thinking Elden Ring Nile. Okay, it is Nile. With two L's. He's actually a very fun boss fight once you can get past his two buddies. Very dangerous, but I found it to be an enjoyable one. He's got some good poses of his own, but also like a lot going on with that armor. We could even just have like a hint of him with some of his fuzz. I think this would be a less is more character to include. Dang, dude's got nameless king hair. And he uses a halberd, as any good warrior oughta. That's not true. You can play Elden Ring however you stinking want. And halberd's probably not the easiest or wisest choice. It has neither the stunning ability of larger weapons, nor the speed of smaller weapons. It does have reach, though. It combines decent speed with good reach, which not a lot of weapons do well. What did the folks at Castle Salt look like? Oh, the Banished Knights. They're a dangerous bunch. When he made an Elden Ring character outfit that's just Banished Knight from Castle Salt specifically, because they're stinking tougher than most of the bosses in the game, according to a lot of people. They're not the end of the world. They are tough, don't get me wrong. They're not easy enemies to deal with, and there's a lot of them. However, and the longsword one is stinking a problem. Especially the one in the boss fight room. But, yeah, they don't play nice. So, I don't really want to break up Miquella's silhouette. We could have Nile back there. And we'll probably just do Nile with reflections and stuff, mostly in shadow. Cool. I am liking that. We'll have to remember that that's Nile, because truthfully it's not super obvious. But that's okay. Man, my laugh has just gotten really dumb this week. I don't know about y'all. My laugh changes every couple of years, just completely. Sometimes very abruptly, I'll hear someone with a fun laugh, and then the next thing I know, my laugh turns into it. And there's a certain amount of control over it, but your initial gut reaction laugh, mine has become a and I hate that. I don't like it. Not really my cup of tea. This one, Miquella's more commanding. This one, more dramatic composition overall. In both cases, I feel like I need to sort out something with this Shotel. Ooh, I kind of like that. Sort of like a symbol of respect before going for it. I'm on the background layer. No! So not quite in line with the hand. We don't want a tangent. But we can fudge the curve a little bit to fit nicely over the shoulder. Could even be tilted away from the head a little bit, which would make some amount of sense. Do the same thing for this one, actually. Okay. Okay, y'all. I'm actually feeling rather excited about this composition. Now we'll have to get the lights and shadows for it, of course. See where we land. And I realize this doesn't feel that different from where we left off, but the feel of this is a lot different than the feel of this. Even with some very minor change. Oh, hello, Malenia. Whoops. Gonna mess with any future time lapses, but those can be edited. So yeah, okay, we've got our composition, or at least we're between two final options, and they're the same pose. It's just a matter of placement. I'm excited about that. However, I really do have to log off at this point, so I will be wrapping there for the night. Big thanks to Adorcus Stock for having some useful poses. I didn't use a specific pose, but this was built off of a couple of their inspiration, plus looking at Nameless King and a few others. Posing's important, but it's complicated. And on that note, I will leave y'all until next time. Thankfully, we're picking this one up right back up tomorrow, and we can really get into it then. Now, yeah, okay. I may do a little bit of light and dark blocking in my free time, just to make sure it all works out. But for the most part, we're not going to get into shadows until we've got the line art sorted, much like we did last time. So we're probably going to be jumping more into more detailed line art, or at least a middle stage between this and what we're actually doing. Hope to see y'all then. Until then, take care, y'all.